Alright, I got my stacked dado set in, and I'm going to make my dados 3/8, but I'm still going to go a 1/4 inch deep. So 1, 250 inch. Oh. Right there. Right there. There we are. Okay, so let me get my blades sit here. I can just hear that touching the bottom of my gauge. I'm going to work with that right there as a 1/4. Let me get my fence set up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fence as my guide, and then I'm going to also use my crosscut sled or table here to push. That's a good thing to check too. Make sure my fence clears my blade here. I'm going to use this as my guide for the length of my cut off of the bottom edge. And incidentally, I'm not going to trim up those bottom edges until I get done doing this. I want to use that factory edge as my reference point so that I know that each dado is referenced off the same edge. I mean, if I trimmed all 3 boards, the chances of getting them all exactly the same cut like they are now it's you know, I mean, I'd be very close, but this is already done. It's perfect, so I'm just going to leave that alone. So I'm going to set this at my first width or length of cut off of the bottom edge, which is 6 3/4 inches. And that is from here to this edge, and then my dado cut is the other way. And I'm just going to double check that before I make that cut. But let me get my piece over here and get her set up. All right, this is one of those one-shot deals that you get when you're making a cut like this. So I've got a feather board here on my fence, and it works out pretty slick. I can use the grooves or the slots to hold this mag switch feather board, and that's going to give me a nice pressure down right here. And so I don't have to concentrate on keeping that down. I can concentrate on just holding the piece and pushing it through. So I'm going to show you several different angles here of what I got going on, so hang on a second. So here's a wide shot of what I'm going to push, or how I'm going to push it. I'm just going to hold here and push, keeping it tight to the fence. And then, like I said, my feather board will keep that pushed down for me, and I'm just going to concentrate on pushing it through the cut, and then you know, making sure that I get a nice contact through here. I'll check my depth of cut, and if I need to, I may have to run it one more time, but we'll see how it looks. So let me position the camera on the other side of the cut, and let me so you can see it coming towards you, I guess, basically. Okay, after looking at this from the camera view, I see that I got a little gap there. I'm going to have to push down. I am going to have to push down right there, but just enough to put some body weight on it, I guess. Now I don't have to really force myself down on it. The other thing I added was this a quick clamp. That's going to help me too, to keep it from twisting. So let's see how this goes. And there's, you know, the other thing I would say is that, you know, if you wanted to use a straight edge and a router here, that's probably a good solution too. I just feel more comfortable doing it this way, I guess. That's why we're going to do it. So, here goes nothing. I'm going to make one more pass. All right, let me flip it over and we'll see how that looks. Okay, my last cut. It's been going really smooth. And once I get done with this, I don't want to break this setup down because I need to make my rabbits. First I need to make my rabbits in the side panels here. Or dados, I should say, and then my rabbit in my back. Believe it or not, I used to make these cuts like this without this sliding table and just using my edge here. And a miter on the miter gauge. But this is so much better, faster, and safer. So there I have it. So my cupboard space, my shelf, my cubby space, and this is where the coat hooks are going to go. I don't know which side I'm on here, but anyway, there'll be a board in here to incidentally, that's how I'm going to hide these screws. I'm going to put the screws in through the back, and then I'll put my hook board in to cover those screws. And up here, I'll have a board, but that's going to be up on the top. No, I won't be able to get to that. I'll have to put one in here, inside the cupboard. I won't be able to get to this one. And then, so one here, and then one at the bottom. And that should hold it more than securely enough. Hopefully I'll be able to catch 3 studs, but if I can't, I'm sure that tool will do the job. Okay, my last cut. It's been going really smooth. And once I get done with this, I don't want to break this setup down because I need to make my rabbits. First I need to make my rabbits in the side panels here, or dados I should say, and then my rabbit in my back. Believe it or not, I used to make these cuts like this without this sliding table and just using my edge here and a miter on the miter gauge. But this is so much better, faster, and safer. So there I have it. So my cupboard space, my shelf, my cubby space, and this is where the coat hooks are going to go. I don't know which side I'm on here, but anyway, there'll be a board in here to incidentally, that's how I'm going to hide these screws. I'm going to put the screws in through the back, and then I'll put my hook board in to cover those screws. And up here, I'll have a board, but that's going to be up on the top. No, I won't be able to get to that. I'll have to put one in here, inside the cupboard. I won't be able to get to this one. And then, so one here, and then one at the bottom. And that should hold it more than securely enough. Hopefully I'll be able to catch 3 studs. I laid one side on top of the other just to show you what's going on with these dados. They are right on the money. I can't complain about this at all. That is beautiful. When I look at the back side, it's identical. So working with nice square pieces and a nice setup that I had there, that made all the difference. So there's the other one, and then my one at the bottom. That'll square up just really nicely. Okay, here's my setup for making these dado cuts to accept the back. So it's I took my other height gauge. It really works well in this situation. pushed down on this and got an exact thickness of my sides, which should be these, since these all came out of the same piece of plywood, you're hoping they're all the same. I then took this and put it on my fence like so and brought it down till I got it to just kiss that tooth. And you can see right now it's bumping into that tooth. And the reason I have it bumping into it is because after I set it at the width, the exact width, I then set up my dial indicator on my fence here and bump this over 20 thousandths, because I don't want the back sticking out. I want a little room here, and I think I might even bump it over another 10 now that I think about it. Because when this thing goes up against the wall, I don't want the back hitting the wall first. I don't want the side hitting the wall, especially the one on the right side. So I'm actually gonna bump it over another 10 thousandths here just to give me that breathing room right there. So now I've gone 30 thousandths this way, and when I look at that, 30. Right about there. That's a pretty good margin of safety, I would say. So that when I run the screws in, you know, that'll disappear in a minute, that bowl. So okay, so now this one gets run bottom this being the top, it gets run from the bottom to the top, and the other one gets run the opposite way. I'll bring my feather board in here, and this will work out great right now for this. Should give me a nice downward pressure. Bring this up a little. Okay, so let's make this cut. Actually, I'm going to make the other one first. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to just make a little kiss cut at the top and double check that measurement, because this is going to be well hidden up there. So any adjustments I have to make, I don't think I'll have to, but I can do it with this one. I'll move this up and move the camera so you can see what I'm looking at here. So this is the corner right here. This is my exact width. So this should be short. And it is, and that's good. And that's a nice little gap, 30 thousandths. Let me see if you can see that. Does that show up there? Right there. Got about 30 thousandths gap. All right, let me run it, and we'll go from there. I only get one shot at this. I want to make sure I got this correct. All right, that's right. Okay. So it's this side, the side nearest the camera, that gets the dado. Which is the way I have it marked, but you never know. that's how that goes. This will get rotated over this way, but they'll be matching matching sides. Mirror sides, I should say, not matching. So they'll have mirrored cuts. All right, now I got to figure out the depth of my cut for a 3/8 rabbit, or a 3/8 tongue, I should say, not a 3/8 rabbit, a 3/8 tongue, to fit into a 3/8 rabbit on these backs. Beautiful. Looks good. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside. Take my back there. I'm going to have to raise the blades and put on my sacrificial fence because I've got I don't want to bump into this aluminum. So let me get set up. Okay, I don't have any scrap cherry plywood laying around, so I have some left over, but I'm not gonna cut it up to get a piece of scrap. So I'm just gonna take this piece of Baltic birch that I've been playing around with, and what I did was I measured it, found out to be I measured it at 697, but here it's measuring 695. There was 697, right there is where I measured it, I guess. There's 697. Okay. I want a tongue, I guess, to go in that dado to be 3/8 or 0.375. So the difference is 0.322, 322 thousandths. I set my height gauge to that, set my dado stack to that height, and made a cut, and here's what I ended up with. 0.372. Well, let me see if that's showing, or 370. Hang on a second. See where I am on the camera here. There, 0.370. Not bad, and actually, that's what I want. I want it to be a little thin. So now I'm going to try it in my dados here and see how it fits. So let me adjust my camera up here. Let's see what happens. Right, that's a little loose, but that's okay. That's better. Yeah, that's good. Now the only thing that I've got to change is the depth of cut. So I can take care of that. I don't want this back to be so tight because as I go down this back, the longer you get, you know, your piece is going to have I know my piece has got a little warp to it. I'm going to need a little clearance here and there. Now right there, that's tighter. See? Hope that's showing up. Yeah. So as I went down the line here, this got a little tighter. Or back here, she's a little looser. That's okay. I would rather have it just be a hair loose, especially on this back for the assembly. And here, that's a nice fit. I'll take that any day of the week right there. So, room for a little bit of glue, and that'll be nice. So let me set my depth of cut. I'm going to cut this off and make another pass to get my depth here set, which should be a 1/4 of an inch. And then once I've got that set out, what I want there too is I want that to be a little less than a 1/4. I don't want that bottoming out in that groove. So let me get that set up. Took some measurements on my sides and my back, and this doesn't really matter because that's not the sides really don't matter because they're not going in there. But I ended up with anywhere from a low of 0.726 to a high of 0.732, and lots of things in between there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it 730 and subtract my 3/8 dado, and then reset my fence height to 0.355, and that's where I'll make my rip. I've also adjusted my width of cut on my dado so that it's just a hair under the 1/4 inch that I want. The piece that my test piece was just right on the money at a 1/4, and it was perfect. So I'm going to I backed it off about 10 thousandths just to take care of any variations in there, along with the glue. So what I want happening is that shoulder, I want the shoulder to bottom out against the side. So I'm going to make my cut at 355, put it together and see how it looks. Okay, I'm going to measure this one and see how it looks before I go any further. Okay, I got measurements. I didn't get any measurements in the middle, but I did get measurements on the ends within about, in about 2 feet or so. Anywhere from 0.370 to 368, 371.5, so I'm very happy. That height gauge took all the work out of it, all the guesswork. It just, set it, run it, and it's working out great. The true test will be when I put it together, but I'm going to run the other side, and then we'll take a test fit on this thing. All right, let me get things situated and we'll see how it fits.